We invite the gong 3 times in remembrance of those who have come before us, in appreciation for all of you here today, and with anticipation and hope for those who will be part of this congregation in the future. Good morning. Good morning. It is Sunday, December 14th, 2025. My name is Kathy Mitchell, and I'm your service leader for today. We want to welcome everyone joining us online and in person to the Umpqua Unitarian Universalist Church. Here you can be yourself, but not by yourself. Whoever you love, however you describe yourself or name the holy, you are welcome here. We especially welcome those of you who are visiting for the first time and those recently new to us and returning again. We're so glad that you are here today with us. If there's anyone visiting for the first time or returning after a while, we'd love for you to introduce yourself, although you don't have to if you'd rather not. Everyone, please stay for coffee and conversation after the service so we can all get to know one another better. We begin our service with the acknowledgement that our congregation rests on unceded lands of indigenous people, including the Cow Creek Band of the Umpqua tribe. Their name graces our congregation and the river that flows through this land. We make this land acknowledgement in recognition of the Cow Creek Umpqua, the Yankalakalapuya, the Southern Malala, and other tribes who've been forcibly displaced, yet who continue to live, lead, and create and belong here. May this acknowledgement move us toward repair, relationship, and right action. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are brave, curious, compassionate thinkers and doers. We come from radical roots and a long history of people who sought a faith grounded in freedom, reason, and love. Unitarian Universalism is its own faith tradition, not because we all believe the same thing, but because we share a commitment to seek truth, practice compassion, and build a more just and loving world. Our practices differ. Our languages for the holy differ, but the tradition we share is real, a faith shaped by history, covenant, and by conscience and community. We think for ourselves and honor how life experience influences what we believe. To join with us is to know us. We are people of many beliefs and backgrounds, people with a religious upbringing, people with none, people who believe in a God, people who don't, and people who choose to let the mystery be. You will find Unitarian Universalists who are Buddhists, Christian, Hindu, humanist, Jewish, Muslim, pagan, atheist, agnostic, and those who weave together more than one path. We are diverse in faith practices, backgrounds, ethnicity, history, gender and sexuality, philosophy and spirituality, and yet we are united in our desire to make a difference for the good. As a faith, we have a long track record of standing on the side of love, justice, and peace. We welcome you, your whole self, with all your truths, doubts, your worries, and hopes. Join us in this extraordinary adventure of faith. We have a couple of announcements this morning. There's a board meeting today at 12:30. On Christmas Eve, we're having a Christmas Eve / holiday / solstice / whatever you believe service at 2:30 in the afternoon on the 24th. Bring cookies, carols, and candles, and we'll join together for a short time of celebration, food, and community. Next Sunday is Soup Sunday, and there's also going to be a sale of homemade gifts and baked goods during that time, and so keep that in mind. And Merlin, I believe you have an announcement also? I might have a microphone, but maybe I don't. Oh, there it is. I could have brought it to you. Go ahead. Take the main mic.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you. I'm here to talk to you about Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And that's what we're helping with this year. And there's a tree back there. What that group does is make beds for kids. They don't make double beds, they make only single beds. It's for the kids who don't have beds and are sleeping on the floor. And we are also working to provide the bedding, the pillows, the blankets, anything to help that bed be. So next Sunday will be the last Sunday to bring things. Thank you.
Thanks, Merlin. Any other announcements? Okay, there's also additional information in your order of service. In our community today, there are many children and adults, housed and unhoused, facing illness and hunger. Acting in compassion for those who are in need, our service to the community is to collect your donations of food and money for the Fish Food Pantry. Our church offering will be later in the service. Thank you for your contributions. They're greatly appreciated and will definitely be put to good use in our community.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to everyone joining us here in person and online. I'm Pastor Eli Poor, and it's my honor and privilege to serve as your minister. We light our chalice this morning, a symbol of Unitarian Universalism, with the following words. We gather and light this chalice to remember who we are, a people shaped by longing, held together by love. Here we name our grief and our gratitude, our fear and our fierce love for this world. May this flame call us back to what matters most: right relationship, shared joy, and the courage to believe a better world is not only possible, but already unfolding among us. Thank you. So we have printed in your order of service and probably projected behind me an affirmation. We're doing a little bit of a sandbox for worship. So we'll be trying out some different things, and this is one of them. So this is just an affirmation that we can say together. Why do we come together for Sunday services? And so if you would mind rising in body or spirit as you can, let's say this together. It's printed in your order of service under affirmation. We come to worship, to renew our spirits, to open our hearts, to remember the strength we find in community, and to shape a more just and loving world together. Thank you. And we have a special treat today. Thank you. You can be seated. We have a special treat today. We have kind of a newly forming band. And so I'd like to thank Bill, Lily, and Owen for being here. And James, sorry, Owen is not here today. James for offering music this morning. And our first song is Holy Now, which you all may know. It's a favorite in UU congregations, originally by Peter Mayer. It's Holy Now.
I'm going to say a couple words about this song before we get started. We're really very lucky that we get to look at the music and the words from this piece that Eli picked out throughout the week, and there's a couple things that really struck me out of this was like, and as Eli sings, it's like, this says everything is holy now. I can't keep track of how many miracles are happening around us, and that we need to look as the week goes on and see those miracles happening. So And this is done by Peter Mayer, which has my wife's favorite song, Blue Boat Home, so great piece. Okay.
When I was a kid each week, on Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad that miracles don't happen still, but now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but is it anything in here at all? So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips, but now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but now I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face and say it's not a testament. That'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come and say it's not a sacrament. I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood and saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now.
Thank you so much. Now we take time to share in community with each other joys and concerns regarding significant milestones in our lives. I invite those who wish to light a candle to form a line to my right. If you have a spoken candle, please give your name and please be brief.
This candle is for my new friend Joe. He's a veteran of Iraq, and I met him over in front of Bimart selling wooden plaques. You know him. You've seen him. Anyway, he had to go home because he was injured pretty bad in Iraq. So I said, well, Joe, when this Sunday I'll light a candle for you. So this is for Joe.
Hi, I'm Gemma. I want to light a candle to me, but also in my recovery, but also to you all who sent me good messages, wrote a card, wrote your signatures on those cards, sent me emails and texts and everything. I was busy answering everybody. But thank you so much for all your support and help. I loved it.
Yeah, hi, Dana here. So I have two candles, both of them for my brothers. One had a stroke yesterday, and he's in the hospital. He's doing really pretty well. He's lost some of his vision. So we'll see how that, or if it comes back over time. And the other brother has heart problems as well, and he's doing pretty well. But it seems like all three of us got hit with the heart stuff. So mine's doing pretty well, so hopefully I wish the best for them in their healing, and I love them all so deeply.
I'm Jody, and I'm lighting a candle this morning for Teresa. Some of you may know who she is. Tammy's my daughter's friend that comes a lot with her. She's anxiously awaiting her first grandchild, and she is really excited for this event. So I light this candle this morning for Teresa.
Good morning. I'm Martha. I'm lighting this candle in memory of our dear Joe, who was 2 years ago, and it still doesn't get any better, and for me, but I'm muddling along, and thankfully I am getting a little bit more better. How's that for a sentence? And thank you everyone for all of your well wishes. I appreciate it.
And I'm going to light a final candle for those who've kept joys and concerns deep within their hearts. And now we enter into a moment for silence, meditation, and grounding. I'll sound the gong once at the beginning to mark our time and once at the end. Let's take a moment to be and to breathe. And now, Pastor Eli.
One more thing before we get started. I think we skipped over the offertory, so let's go ahead and do that. We just roll with it. Our congregation is supported by the gifts of time, talent, and treasure of this community, and your support is what fuels this congregation's mission and keeps the flame of justice, community, and love burning brightly. If you're a visitor this morning, please allow the basket to pass you by. What's given now is received in appreciation of our shared hopes and values. For these gifts which we have received, may we be truly grateful. May we be committed to using these gifts to make a difference in the world and to expand our beloved community. Thank you. So good morning again, everyone, on this lovely, cool December Sunday. Welcome to everyone joining us in person and online. So today, December 14th, is the third Sunday of Advent, which if you come from a Christian tradition may mean something to you, and if you don't, maybe it doesn't, but we're going to talk a little bit about that this morning. So Advent is traditionally described as the season of waiting, of anticipation, of preparation, of sitting in the dark long enough to notice what we are longing for. And in Christian tradition, the thing that's being waited for is the birth of Jesus, right? And it's often framed as the arrival of the Savior, a figure who would redeem humanity from sin and restore our relationship with God. Familiar story, right? Some of us have heard this story many times. Some of us grew up with it. Some of us loved it, some of us were wounded by it, and some of us made a very intentional decision to leave it behind. So before I want to go any further, I want to name that for many of us, this story carries baggage, right? Christian language carries baggage, and especially in UU spaces where so many of us have experienced harm from it. And that's real, it's earned, and pretending it isn't there doesn't make it go away. And so for those of us who carry those histories, what I want to offer today is not a call to belief, but a call to context. So historical, theological, and personal. Because when we understand what these stories were originally meant to be about, it becomes something far more compelling than just nostalgia or doctrine. It can become, if we let it, this sort of living question or a set of questions. And one of those is the theme for today. What are we waiting for? So Advent is the season of waiting. but this isn't the kind of waiting where nothing is happening. It's not wishful thinking. It's not this sort of waiting and resignation. It's not sitting back and hoping things magically improve. It's waiting because there's a promise of something. There's a promise of change. It's waiting with this conviction that the world will not remain as it is. That grief, that loss, that the things that harm us don't have the final word. That change is not only possible, but it's already unfolding, sometimes quietly, sometimes unevenly, and sometimes in ways that we only recognize in hindsight, but it is unfolding. And so Advent holds these two truths at the same time. One, that the world is not yet what it should or could be, and two, the promise that it doesn't have to stay this way. And so that tension, between this sort of longing for what could or should be and the promise of what will be, and further, what is already unfolding, that is the spiritual work that I think that Advent represents. And it also names, in the process of this waiting, the things that can sustain us spiritually in that waiting: hope, peace, joy, love. And so that's traditionally represented by lighting those candles, right? Which I actually brought them today. I forgot to bring them up here, so we'll light them in our imaginations. So I've been a spiritual seeker for most of my life. I think that's probably true for a lot of us here. And I've mentioned before that my family has some pretty deep Southern Baptist roots. So I speak hellfire and brimstone as a second language, and I learned that pretty young. And when I was a kid, we didn't go to church often, but those beliefs kind of lingered in the background, right? And when I was a kid, I really craved the sense of belonging that church promised. But by the time I was really young, probably 8, 9, 10 years old, I'd figured out a couple of things. First, I was queer. Second, the messages that I was absorbing from these fundamentalist Christian spaces, directly and indirectly, were harmful. And so at first, my response was rebellion. If that was God, if that's what God looked like, I wanted nothing to do with it. So I turned elsewhere, practiced witchcraft, explored pagan traditions, studied Buddhism, fell in love with Hindu cosmology, read philosophers of every kind. I was searching for meaning without harm. And then, as a teenager, I wandered into a UU congregation for the first time at 14 years old. And then years later, I found myself in seminary. And at that time, I loved studying this. I loved studying religions and learning about how they interacted with each other and influenced one another, almost all of it. But when it came to Christianity, I could find meaning in almost every tradition, but there was a block there. Even in the early Unitarian and Universalist texts that I was reading, some of them made me flinch because we come from a Protestant Christian tradition, right? So there's heavy use of the word God, and it was very difficult for me to get through. So I started looking at that. Why can I find this meaning and this purpose and this connection in all of these paths except for Christianity? And the answer is trauma, right? And then something shifted in me. And it wasn't because this harm that I had experienced wasn't real, but because I started learning more about what was behind the story and different ways of telling it. So I'm going to talk about Jesus sort of in the line of the prophets. I think it's important to name this too. So Jesus, as we know, was a Jew. And he was born into a Jewish world that was shaped by Roman military occupation. So I first started learning about this in a required course on biblical history in seminary. So at this time, Judea was not free. It was a colonized territory governed by an empire that enforced compliance through violence, and it relied on local collaborators to maintain control. This is historical fact. And Jesus did not appear out of nowhere, so he stood within this line of this long prophetic tradition. And these prophets were not fortune tellers, they were truth tellers. Their role wasn't to predict the future, but it was to name the present honestly. And it's a tradition that understood faith as inseparable from justice and spirituality as inseparable from right relationship. So people like Isaiah, Jeremiah, Amos, Miriam, Deborah, Hannah, Esther, all of these are in that prophetic tradition. And Jesus belongs to this lineage. So in first century Judea, the word Messiah did not mean divine being who saves souls for heaven. It meant anointed one. And what it was understood to be was this divinely appointed leader, often imagined as a prophet or king, who would help liberate the people from oppression and restore right relationship within the community. People were waiting for someone who would save them from Rome, from economic exploitation, from political humiliation, from oppression and pain, and the real human cost that emerges from that type of occupation and empire. And so this waiting, right, it wasn't abstract. It lived in their bodies, it lived in anxious families, it lived in exploited labor, and in the occupied land. And so Advent, in its original sense, is not waiting quietly for a baby in a manger. It's about waiting in this context of empire for a change that's been promised. And so this idea of Jesus as this cosmic savior who redeems humanity from original sin didn't develop until centuries later, particularly after Christianity became intertwined with the Roman Empire in the 4th century, which is really interesting because so many of the Gospels were set in the context of being opposed to the Roman Empire. So before that, the early Jesus movement was this diverse set of Jewish reform movements, basically. It was contested and alive with debate. People at that time understood Jesus in many ways: teacher, healer, prophet, wisdom figure, revolutionary, mystic. He was not widely understood as divine in the way later creeds would define him. Those definitions took centuries, and they were shaped as much by politics as they were by theology. What changed wasn't just belief, it was power. And so, as Christianity moved from sort of this small, sidelined movement to the official religion of the Roman Empire, again, we talked about how ironic that is, the focus shifted. Liberation in this life, connection in this life, restoration in this life became about salvation in the next. Calls addressing structural injustice, care for the poor, the orphan, the widow, the love of your neighbor and love God stuff, right, became more about individual sin. Faith became less about transformation and more about compliance. The way we tell a story shapes how we live inside it. So one of the clearest expressions of this liberation-centered faith appears in the reading that is actually a part of the liturgy for the third Sunday of Advent, and that is Luke 1, 46 through 45, also called Mary's Song or the Magnificat. And this is significant a passage for a few reasons, not the least of which is that it's the longest preserved passage spoken by a female in the Gospels. So I'm going to read this passage for you. And I want to invite you to listen for two things. First, who is speaking? Second, the tense that she uses, okay? And also, I'm altering this a little bit from the New Revised Standard Version. We'll call this the New Eli Standard Version, I guess. So here it is. And Mary said, "My soul magnifies the Lord. My spirit rejoices in God, my liberator, for they have looked with favor on the lowliness of their servant. Surely from now on, all generations will call me blessed, for the Mighty One has done great things for me, and holy is their name. Their mercy is for those who hold them in awe from generation to generation. They have shown strength with their arm. They have scattered the proud in their conceit. They have brought down the powerful from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. They have filled the hungry with good things and sent the rich away empty. They have helped their people in remembrance of their mercy, according to the promise they made to our ancestors, to Abraham and Sarah and their descendants forever." That's the passage. So what matters here is not just what Mary says, which is powerful in itself, but how she says it. If you notice, Mary speaks almost entirely in the past tense. She does not say God will scatter the proud, will lift up the lowly, will lift up the hungry. She says these things have already happened. And so this isn't optimism, right? It's proclamation. And so let's think about this in context, right? So Mary is a poor, brown, teenage girl living under military occupation. She's unmarried and pregnant in a society where that carries enormous risk. And soon she will become a migrant, fleeing state violence, crossing borders in search of safety. And from that place, she declares that she is blessed and the world is already turning. So, given all of this, it might be unsurprising to hear that for people who have sought to impose power, to prey on the vulnerable, and to use that power to shield themselves from consequences, the Magnificat has been seen as a subversive text. So, during British colonial rule in India, public singing or reading of the Magnificat was prohibited. And so after the successful revolution, Gandhi, a Hindu, read the Magnificat as the British flags were being lowered in India. In the 1970s and 80s, the Argentinian military junta banned it after the Mothers of the Disappeared displayed its words in the Plaza de Mayo. The governments of Guatemala and El Salvador banned its public recitation during periods of state terror. Empire, power, and people who profit from harm or from the status quo are always afraid of liberation. And this liberation that Mary describes is not abstract, it's not distant. She describes it as concrete, material, and embodied. Hungry people are fed. Power is redistributed, status is reversed, bodies crushed by hierarchy are lifted. And so this promise that Advent holds is not that everything will feel better or that suffering will disappear overnight. It's the promise that the world can be otherwise, and this world is already coming into being right now. So, we've talked about at the heart of the Advent story is the birth of Jesus. And I want to name this carefully again. We don't have to believe that Jesus was divine to recognize what that birth represents. We don't have to agree on metaphysics, miracles, or doctrine to see what was being proclaimed here, right? The birth of Jesus was understood by those who first told the story as a promise for change, a promise for liberation, a promise that suffering is not the point, that domination is not eternal, that love and justice and right relationship can take flesh in the world. For people living under Roman occupation, this is hope with a pulse. For us, it can be hope with a pulse. It's the insistence that even in the most brutal conditions, something new could be born, and the future does not belong to power. And so Advent doesn't ask us to believe how this promise works. It just asks us whether we trust that it does. And so to speak of Jesus' birth as a promise is not to make a claim about his nature so much as it is to make a claim about ours. To say that human beings are capable of participating in something larger than fear, that compassion can survive, that justice can emerge even in places shaped by violence and scarcity. Whether we understand Jesus as divine, inspired, prophetic, or exemplary, the story names a deep human truth, that transformation arrives, sometimes quietly, sometimes vulnerably, and without permission from those in power. And I think this is why this story continues to matter, even for those who don't hold traditional Christian beliefs, because we know what it is to need hope. We know what it is to long for a love that won't abandon us. We know what it is to search for joy that isn't fragile or conditional. And Advent says that these longings aren't naive, they're necessary. Hope, joy, peace, love, that's what allows us to wait, to imagine, to dream, to manifest and recognize the ways the world is already changing for the better. So this joy that we're talking about, it's not this sort of shallow happiness, right? It doesn't pretend that everything is okay. It's this joy that comes from alignment. It's when our inner lives begin to match our outer commitments. It's when we choose integrity over ease. It's when we choose connection over disconnection. It's when we choose community over individuality. And that kind of joy doesn't numb us, it awakens us. And so for Unitarian Universalists, this matters because our faith doesn't ask us to agree on doctrine. It asks us to covenant around values. We are bound not by creed, but by commitment. And a UU Advent, read through that lens, becomes this season of recommitment to dignity, to compassion, to justice, and to believing that we can make the world better, to recognize that it's becoming better around us all the time, that everything is holy now, as the song said, right? We may name the source of that commitment or that source of that source differently, right? God, love, the moral arc of the universe, the interdependent web of life, but that work remains the same. To live as though that promise is true, to shape our communities as though this liberation isn't this abstract ideal, but it's this real and unfolding possibility that's happening right now. So when we ask, what are we waiting for? We're not waiting for supernatural rescue. We're waiting for the hope that we have to become visible and alive and to move something in the world, to see that it's moving, for love to become embodied, for joy to become durable enough to help us survive the world as it is. We wait, yes, but we wait inside a promise that love outlasts domination, that justice isn't a fantasy, but a future already pressing into the present. So, as Theodore Parker said, and Reverend Dr. King echoed, the moral arc of the universe bends towards justice, but it doesn't bend on its own. It bends because we bend it. So, may we, like Mary, tell the truth. May we wait with confidence. May we see hope. May we notice it stirring. May we practice a faith that's personal, communal, tender, and brave. And may we help bring into being this world that is promised. May it be so. Amen. Blessed be.
And now is the traditional time for those of you out here to respond to what Eli had to say.
Thank you. Last night I sat in the lobby of the place where I live now, and a very bright, marvelous young man was playing the piano so that we could sing. And there were 5 or 6 or 10 little old ladies sitting in this. And we sang those songs. And as you speak, I realize I've been trying to know what you just said. Every time we sang the song about Jesus is coming or Jesus is being or whatever, I, as a child, thought of him as a child and then as a man. But last night, I knew it as this promise that you're talking about. And so I sang it with great gusto, and I loved every one of those silly songs about Rudolph and the whole business. And yet, I didn't know today was Sunday. I haven't done a damn thing about Christmas, so anyway, there we are.
Thank you, JC. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's a shift, right? And it's hard to make when we've been harmed by something, and there's a story that's been lifted up culturally that's not really in alignment with historical context, and with when you understand the background, you understand a little bit more about how it's more universal than we think, and we don't have to agree on the specifics to see that this is a meaningful thing. And I think that we have some responsibility to reclaim that from the people that distort it. And yeah, there's so much joy in singing those songs, right? It's, especially when it comes from that place. Thank you.
So once again, you showed up at the right place at the right time.
Funny how that works.
I wrote down a whole bunch of stuff because I love to write down stuff, but something came back a couple of times during, and what we're doing now is we are living in the present. We all know that we can't hang on to the past. We can remember it and like it or not, and the future hasn't come yet. So we know that we're here, and we know we're doing something, and we're doing something powerful here as a congregation. But also you mentioned the future, and the future, what really hit me was you said the future does not belong to power. It doesn't. And choose joy that isn't fragile, and choose dignity, choose compassion, and choose justice. And that's marching into the future with those things in hand for all of us. And I really thank you for bringing that forward. And this is going to be a sticker on my mirror.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Lots of love. All right, folks. Well, thank you for the comments, as always. We have a closing song that's actually based on the Song of Mary. It's called Canticle of the Turning, and the lyrics are in the order of service today. It's a great piece, and once again, we have Bill, Lily, and James here. Thank you again for the music this morning, y'all.
My soul cries out with a joyful shout that the God of my heart is great. And my spirit sings of the wondrous things that you bring to the ones who wait. You fixed your sight on your servant's plight, and my weakness you did not spurn. So from east to west her name be blessed, could the world be about to turn. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, that the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears as the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn.
Though I am small, my God, my all, the world will work its things. In your mercy last in the depths of the past and the end of the age to be. Your very name puts the proud to shame. Those who do you yearn, you will show your might, put the strong to flight. Is about to turn. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, and the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn.
From the halls of power to the fortress tower, not a stone will be left unstoned. Let the king be aware, for your justice tears every tyrant from his throne. The hungry poor shall weep no more for the food they can never earn. There are tables spread, every mouth to be fed, for the world is about to turn.
My heart shall sing of the day you bring, let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. Though the nations rage from age to age, we remember who holds us fast. God's mercy must deliver us from the conqueror's crushing grasp. The saving word that Harper's heard is the promise that holds us bound. Till the spear and the rod can be crushed by God, who is turning the world around. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. Too many words.
Beautiful. That's a difficult song, too. Thank you so much. Sounded great. Everyone, thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing on community. Thank you for the wonderful music. May we go in hope. May we go in courage. May we go knowing that love is already at work and that the world is turning. Amen. Blessed be.
And now we join in our closing circle and sing Go Lift It Up.